What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Happy Black History Month to everyone. Just want to say, anybody that tunes in, I want to thank you for tuning in, checking me out. Got a few things to talk about. It's a lot of stuff is going on in sports, but only going to discuss a few things. First thing we're going to discuss will be the Super Bowl, and we will discuss. Just gonna have a few reactions from the Super Bowl on yesterday, which honestly I was very disappointed in the Super Bowl simply because it didn't live up to the hype. It didn't live up to the hype of the Chiefs and Bucks, a great defense versus a great offense, and it was really one-sided. It was actually kind of boring to me. Like I kind of caught myself dozing off on it a couple of times last night, but cut to the chase on everything. I was going to come out and talk about like how bad the officiating was in the first half. It kind of reminded me of a basketball game where you play the first half and one team is in the double bonus, the other team has one, maybe two fouls, and they can play as aggressive as they want to play. Other team, they foul, the other team shooting free throw after free throw after free throw. So that's what it kind of reminded me of in the first half, like the pass interference calls, the holding calls, the offside calls. It was kind of like that. But then I sat back and I thought about it, and I was like, I can't approach it that way simply because they played a second half. And the Chiefs went out and they laid down in the second half, in my opinion. They laid down. They didn't go out there and play Chiefs football. So I can't blame it on officiating. The officiating was bad, which that's a part of games and everything. And, a lot of people say the fix was on, which, I kind of agree with it because, the calls were one-sided. But at the same time, the game was still in hand. And all the Chiefs had to do was just come out, compose themselves, play a better second half. We could have had a decent, football game. But at the end of the day, they just didn't. They didn't come out the second half and play Chiefs football. They just looked like they were not prepared. They actually looked like they didn't want to be there. Like, from drop passes to, Mahomes back there having to run for his life. It just didn't look like the Chiefs team. But I had been saying it all year that, the Chiefs were a good team, but they relied on their talent was so good that a lot of times they would just go through the motions. And this was one of those times where if you start out slow, you had a great quarterback in Tom Brady that could be methodical and make it hard for you, along with that great defense that Tampa Bay has. Tampa Bay has, like, that defense was just phenomenal all last night. Like, yeah, they got, like, I think they maybe had 3 sacks, but for the most part, they had Mahomes running for his life. It said Mahomes ran for almost 500 yards in backfield, just trying to, just scramble and not get sacked and, trying to keep plays alive. And, at the end of the day, Mahomes was 26 for 49. He was 26 for 49, and he had 270 yards passing, 2 interceptions. Brady outplayed him, 21 for 29, 201 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The penalties, which I talked about, it was 11 for 120 and 4 for 39, which, I think it's kind of lopsided, but the Chiefs, a lot of them was self-inflicted, like, on the field goal where, the lineman, he lined up off sides. You got to make that call. You could be mad with the officials for doing that, but like, if you line up in the neutral zone, it's offsides, which it could have changed the game, 3 points versus 7 points. And, so a lot of the stuff that happened, it happened in crucial points of the game. Some of the pass interference calls I really didn't like because, it was kind of like game changers to me. But then again, the Chiefs were still in striking distance. And, I was disappointed in Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy because I just feel like their game plan was terrible. We already knew that the Bucks will play a too high safety. I mean, so why not run the football? Or alternative to run the football is screen passes. Why not do that and change things up, and then make Tampa Bay have to make some adjustments and during the game, and they didn't have to make any adjustments because I guess the Chiefs said, well, this is the way we play all year. This is the way we win. And nobody's going to stop it. And with that defense, they just allowed their front four to get out the Mahomes. And, a lot of people said Mahomes were hurt. If you go out there and play, hey, listen, you got to put, that aside. That's an excuse for me. Like, I just feel like he played one of his worst games that he possibly could have played. It could have had something to do with the two tackles being out, just all in all, the Chiefs were just bad yesterday. They were just bad. And I don't want to take anything away from Tampa Bay because that defense, man, that defense. I mean, Brady won the MVP, but if it could have been done, it should have went to the defense and Todd Bowles, because to hold the Chiefs to 0 touchdowns and just 3 field goals. That's impressive. That's just so impressive. Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians, them guys had a great game plan, and don't want to take anything away from Brady and their offense, because whenever that defense gave them short fields, the defense gave them good field position. They took advantage of the field position and what the defense gave them. So all in all, I have to tip my hat off to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I picked them last week because I just had a funny feeling that, what the Chiefs did, all the time, play comeback and feeling like, we're better than everybody else. No lead is safe. I mean, I just didn't feel like that was going to happen. I just felt like Brady was going to just handle business, and that defense was just going to really, really, really be on top of Mahomes, especially having those injuries, those key injuries to those two tackles. And all in all, I was disappointed in the game because I really wanted to see a good football game. Regardless of what the outcome was, I picked Tampa Bay to win, but I wanted to see a good game. And I just feel like first, Tampa Bay, the Chiefs lost a lot of their composure whenever some of those calls went against them. And I feel like if it was that bad, Andy Reid should have, spoke up a little bit more, maybe picked up a unsportsmanlike penalty simply because, it might have could have changed, the momentum or changed the way. It's like picking up a technical foul in basketball. Sometimes coaches pick them up and the referees really, change the way they call in the game. Tampa Bay, to me, they really got some home cooking, but that happens in football games. That happened in sports. That happened in everything. Like I can't speak, enough about how Tampa Bay was really composed. Like they did not let anything rattle them. And that speaks to the testament of Tom Brady. Tom Brady, brought a winning culture to them. A lot of people say, it wasn't the Patriot way. It was Tom Brady way. I think it had a lot to do with both because, Brady learned a lot with Bill Belichick and with the New England Patriots. And he took that and whatever they didn't allow him to do there, he brought it to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay really let Tom Brady be Tom Brady. And that for them last night, that was very impressive, just on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. And like I said, I just feel like the Chiefs were not prepared. Like, to start out the rookie punter shanking a couple of punts and, giving Brady them great field position. And then defensively, Spagnuolo, he tried to send pressure all the time. And everybody knows this about Brady. He gets the ball out quick. He doesn't want to hold on to the football. He hold on to the football, then, they can easily get to him. He's trying to get the ball out 2-3 seconds. So sending pressure, that leaves your DBs one-on-one, and it was a lot of holding on both sides, but, they got caught. And so I felt like, instead of sending all that pressure, sit back in a zone and see if they can beat you in a zone. But like just sending pressure after pressure, it did not pan out well for the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said, I feel like offensively, yes, they had, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, all those guys. But with those two high safeties, they were playing like, they always wanted the home run ball. When effectively, they started out the game running the ball pretty well. And then they got away from that, which I felt like they should have ran. And then, some screen passes, whether it was, wide receiver screens, running back screens, whichever one it was, just to throw that defense off, to come out of that too high safety, and make some adjustments. So, I mean, I think they will learn from this. I mean, I really, truly do believe they just had a bad game, because if you had to play it again, I believe the game would be a lot better and they would change a whole lot of things. They'll probably be back next year. I think the Bucs will still be one of the elite teams. We'll see how they handle the success of winning a Super Bowl. I know, Brady will be fine because that's something that he's used to. That's his 7th ring. The other guys, I feel like, we'll see how they follow Brady's lead and how Arians, coaches and who they're able to keep, who they're able to, if they get rid of, if they upgrade in some positions and all that good stuff. It's just going to be interesting to see what the offseason is like. Same thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs got a lot. Can they keep all that talent together? That's the big question for them. I felt like if they would have won this Super Bowl, a lot of guys would have been like, yeah, all of them could take pay cuts. They could, and all of them have been happy. But, losing, sometimes that changes people's perspective, changes players' perspective, on, well, I can go somewhere another else. And to touch on this right here, Brady was good at what Brady did. But it's something I've been saying all year about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But for everybody to just continuously say he's the GOAT, he's the best, but you can only do so much whenever you're a quarterback. If your guys don't show up, Tyreek Hill didn't show up yesterday. Travis Kelce did somewhat. Sammy Watkins, if people don't show up for Mahomes, I mean, he looks average. Like, he looked very average, having to run for his life, not having the line that he was accustomed to having. See, in order for him to be great and quarterbacks to be great, everything has to be in place. Granted, Tom Brady's 43 years old. A lot of people making a big deal about that because at that age, a lot of times you're not playing. But with his line and him getting rid of the ball in 2-3 seconds, that line kept him upright all game long. And that was the story of the rest of their season. Once they hit that slide, it was, the line keeping Brady upright. And when Brady's upright, he's one of the most dangerous quarterbacks to ever play football, because, like I said, he gets the ball out in 2-3 seconds. He goes through his progressions. He's great at, at feeling what defenses are doing. He calls them out, pre-snap and all that good stuff. So if anything, Mahomes, I hope he learned a lot from this. I hope Andy Reid learned from this. Bieniemy learned from this. But my hat goes off to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady them. But I feel like a lot of people are discrediting or taking away from what that Bucs defense did to the Chiefs. Yes, Brady was good, but that defense was awesome. Like, I mean, that game wouldn't even been the game it was for the Bucs if it wasn't for that defense. them guys got after Mahomes, man. They really got after him. They only had like 3 sacks, but for the most part, 3-4 sacks. But just the pressure and him, having to, get rid of the ball when he didn't want to, or holding on the ball too long and trying to be Superman. Yeah, some of those passes hit some of those guys in the face. They had a lot of drops, but that goes to say, like, whenever the guys were not being good, Mahomes had to be great, and he couldn't be great last night because that defensive line just would not allow him to. So, I mean, congrats to the Bucs again. They already have the Chiefs as the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year, which I really don't get that because it's a lot that can happen in the offseason. So, but that's yet to be seen. Super Bowl to me was not great, but congrats to the Bucs. And so we're going to move on to the next topic. The next topic is the Washington Wizards. Oh, man. Whenever the season first started and Russell Westbrook got traded to the Washington Wizards, I was kind of excited about Washington. There was a lot of people that I know in DC area, they were excited about this also. But the Wizards haven't been magical at all this year. Like right now, they're 5-15 in the East, and that makes them 14th in the East. That's second to last. That's with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. I mean, Beal is averaging 32.2 points a game. Russ is averaging 9.2 rebounds and 9 assists. So they leading in those statistical categories on their team. But after that, it's kind of nothing. It's nothing. Like, it's those two and nothing. And like Russ started out the season, it was kind of rough for him to start out with. He wasn't shooting the ball well. He's kind of picked it up a little bit now, but free throws are not good for him. Him and Bill both are averaging over 3.5 turnovers a game, and that comes with them having to handle the ball and do so much with the personnel that they have. And when you look at that team, it's not well constructed. And then the biggest issue that I have with the Wizards is the guy on the sideline, is Scotty Brooks. I mean, Scotty's on the last year of his deal, and I think the Wizards are just trying to hold on to Scotty to let him finish out his contract. But I think it's time to make a change, because with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, there's no way they should be, 14th in the East. In my just personal opinion and just knowing basketball, with those two great talents, they shouldn't be 14th in the East. I'm not saying they should be 1, 2, or 3, but they should be somewhere fighting for that 8, 7, 8, the 6 seed, stuff like that. They should be fighting for those type of positions. Like, they shouldn't be 5-15. With that being said, like Scotty, I like him, but at the same time, I don't like him as a coach. I feel like he gets this job simply because he coached Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and James Harden. And each year with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he won 50-plus games. But what people don't understand, when you have stars of the magnitude of KD and Russ and James, you don't have to do a whole lot of coaching. Now, come playoff time, you do. And it showed that, come playoff times, the Thunder would struggle because he had trouble, X's and O's and all that good stuff. But, I could have took that Wizards team. You could have took that the Thunder team and won 50 games. Just go out there and tell KD and Russ to take you to the promised land. But when the game slowed down in the playoffs, and that's when the Thunder struggled. And I just think it's time for Scott Brooks to for the Wizards to call it a day on Scott Brooks, because right now this is not good quality basketball that the Wizards are playing. And with 2 stars, I don't think that Russ will be an all-star this year, but I'm pretty sure Bradley Beal will. It will be hard to keep him from being an all-star simply because the numbers that he's putting up and how he's playing. And really true, like, he doesn't want to be traded. From what's being told is he's saying that he want to, ride it out in Washington and build a championship team, which I respect him for that, because we don't have that a lot in this NBA today. A lot of guys they pick up and run. They try to join forces with other people, other players, other superstars. And at the end of the day, sometimes they don't want to compete, or they just run from, they run from the challenge. And I respect Bradley Beal for doing that, for wanting to stay and build something around them. But the Wizards might have to, go with the business side of things and start making some trades, because, right now they don't have much on their roster. They really don't. You see names, and like I looked at some of the names, and some of those names, man, I don't even know. I really don't know. Now the next best person they have is Davis Bertan. Like, he's playing pretty decent basketball, but you need more than that. You got to get some bench support. Like, the bench is very suspect. And then the other thing I don't understand is whenever it comes to the Washington Wizards, is you're in DC, the nation's capital. Well, why is it that you can't get good stars and good basketball players to come to DC and play? It's a lot to do in that area. It's not like it's some little small town or whatever, but it's a nice place that, and it's a lot surrounding it. So maybe it's just cold weather. I don't get it, but for them not to be able to get good talent to play with Bradley Beal, and that's one reason why I feel like Bradley Beal may need to go, because he's wasting some good years of his career, just trying to carry a team that he doesn't have the supporting cast. He doesn't have the help that he's needed in Washington. And they have to do something. They got to make some trades. They got to do something. And my first order of business would be to, go ahead and relieve Scotty Brooks of his duties, because after all, this kind of falls back on coaching, because, whenever the play is not great, you're not winning games. Yeah, sometimes you can put it on the players, but a lot of times you lose the voice in the locker room. You lose the ears of those players, and sometimes it might be time to make a change and get a new voice that these players will listen to, that these players will, rally behind and play hard for. And they just don't. Like, yeah, they had a good win against the Nets, which I thought that was more of the Nets, not finishing the game more so than the Wizards just, beating them. So, but that's that. They got to March to make some trades or, figure some things out. But I think the first order of business is to get a new voice. And that might be with just the intern, but they got that Scotty Brooks is his days are numbered in DC. If they re-sign him to a contract, that tells me that they do not care about winning. Scotty Brooks is a good guy, nice guy, but this opportunity has ran its course for him, and he's not the coach. He shouldn't be the coach for the Washington Wizards moving forward, or not too long. And so we're going to move on to our next topic. Our next topic is, I'm from North Carolina, so this is a big topic, which, with my North Carolina people, the UNC Duke rivalry. Like, this rivalry has been a rivalry for umpteen years. They have had 253 meetings. 253 meetings. And like, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correct, it ain't nothing but 15 miles, if I'm not mistaken, between Duke and Carolina down to Tobacco Road. So, you know, it's a lot of people. It's either Duke or Carolina, and like you know, Carolina right now has bragging rights because Carolina leads the series 140 to 114. They're fifth in the ACC at 7-4 and 12-6 overall. Duke is ninth in the ACC. They're 5-5 and 7-7 overall. And I would just have to say this right here. This has got to be by far the worst game or meeting that I've seen between these two in my lifetime. I've seen times where one team was good and the other team was struggling, but whenever they played against each other, you couldn't really tell it because it was that Duke North Carolina rivalry. And at the end of the day, it brought the best out of each one of them. This game that I saw the other night, it was just like horrific. Like, yeah, there's no fans in the stands, but Duke and Carolina are not good, but for different reasons. Duke is not good, in my opinion, and this is my opinion just watching them, is because they don't have the talent. And that's very rare for Duke. The talent is not great in Sheshetskyville at Cameron. It's just not great to me. It's decent, but not Duke caliber, talent. Carolina, on the other hand, I feel like their talent level is good. Their record doesn't speak to what I think it should be. And I think and I spoke on this some weeks ago, it has a lot to do with the way Roy Williams coaches. Like, Roy is so prehistoric whenever it comes to his coaching and the way he wants to play, and it's played out. Carolina has some pretty decent talent, but I don't think it's used the right way. Now guys want to shoot threes, and because that's the way the NBA plays. It's everybody wants to shoot threes. They want to run and gun. Roy still wants to dump it down, and we're gonna play two bigs, and and that's just not the way basketball is right now. Like, if you look at these teams, a lot of these teams, Duke has been doing it for years. Like, well, we just gonna get up and down the floor, and we're gonna play basketball, run up and down. We're gonna shoot threes, and that's what the NBA does. If you look at the quality of NBA basketball, majority of shots are threes, layups, or dunks. That's what they are. There's no in between, and you very seldom have a big guy that you throw the ball down to and just say, "Go get me a bucket." You got some of them that does that, like. You can throw it down to Anthony Davis sometimes and, Joel Embiid now, but for the most part, they want to be, spot up shooters. And in this Carolina Duke rivalry it's really bad right now, because I don't know if I've seen Carolina and Duke at this lowest point in a long time. I don't know if they just been, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen them this bad. Like, I haven't. Like, neither one of them at the same time. I've seen times where Coach K was, out, that time with his back, and then Duke just didn't look good or whatever. And then I've seen times where Carolina just had injuries and all that good stuff, and they just didn't look good. But for these two teams, man, they are bad. They are really, really bad. Like, the turnovers, guys, not making shots, and, just not handling pressure. And that's just not like Carolina and Duke. And it could be the pandemic. That's what it could be. It could be the pandemic. But this has gone to show me that, with all these great teams, all these big name teams, the UNCs, the Dukes, the Kentuckys that are really down, Kansas is out of the top 25. Whenever, whenever everything is equal, it's a level playing field. It shows that these other schools and these other coaches are doing really good jobs with the talent level they have. But Carolina and Duke, it was just, I watched that game because I'm from North Carolina. I was like, I just got to watch it. And then, like, if I would not root for Duke for anything. I just don't like them. I don't like Duke. So I'd be rooting for Carolina. I hope Carolina beat they behind every dang on time. And especially it was at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And the sad thing about it is I didn't even see the hype about it. Like, the only reason why I know is because I seen a family member posted talking about, yeah, beat Duke. I said, oh, they play tonight. And it used to be commercial after commercial showing, all the Jerry Stackhouse, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, all that type of stuff. And this game was just god awful. Like, god awful. Like, Carolina ended up winning it all. Both of them are bad. I hope both of them can get the program back resonated, to the standard they're supposed to be. Hopefully, whenever this pandemic is over, maybe they can recruit a little bit better. They can practice a little bit more or whatever. It won't be, so tied down where they can't do what they want to do. But hopefully this rivalry gets better and this rivalry comes back full steam ahead, because college basketball is at its best whenever these two right here are rivaling each other. Like, you can't tell me with Carolina and Duke in the mid range and in the lower range of the ACC that college basketball is good. You can't tell me that. Like, no, it just doesn't make any sense. Maybe these two teams can get their programs back right, and this rivalry will be renewed, and the excitement will come back whenever these two are able to. Last year they had two good games that Duke ended up winning. So hopefully they can feed off that. And maybe it's me. I just have trouble watching games with the people not in the stands. Like, college basketball is just not the same. I look to see the Cameron crazies, just acting crazy and staying on top of players, and it just wasn't. It didn't have the same feel, and I think it has a lot to do with just the talent level. The talent level is not good, and that's tough to say, especially. And I'm not a fan of his about Coach K. Coach K keeps talent. It might be 5 or 6 deep, and then after that it falls off. But his talent level is just not the same. And so we're gonna move on to our last and final topic, and our last and final topic is the Joker and the Nuggets. This is something that me and some friends have been talking about, for quite some time. I've been watching, Denver play. Right now they're 6th in the West. And the Joker leads them in every statistical category. 27.2 points a game, 11.5 rebounds, 8.6 assists, 1.7 steals, and 0.7 in blocks. He leads them in every category that is possible, like the major categories. And me personally, I think they play too much through him. I feel like him, trying to be a point guard, I think that takes away from everybody else, the whole totality of the team, because they're doing everything through him. And when I say through him, it's like they don't have any post guys. It's almost like he's just out there picking up a whole bunch of stat after stat after stat after stat, and the team is not getting better. And I can see it happening. They're 6 now, but if they keep playing this way, yeah, he'll put up a whole bunch of points. He'll put up a whole bunch of stats. But at the end of the day, they're going to be fighting for one of the last playoff spots or not make the playoffs at all. You have on that roster, you have a very good roster whenever it comes to the Denver Nuggets. And they were just in the Western Conference Finals last year. And they had a miraculous comeback, and they beat the Clippers, which that didn't impress me one bit because it was the Clippers. I wasn't sold on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and all those guys, and I felt like Doc Rivers knew like it was just time for it was going to be a change for him and all that good stuff. But whenever I look at the Nuggets, and I'm pulling up all the, you got Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. I mean, you got a bunch of guys, Paul Millsap, but then you got the Joker. Like I said, and he's playing more minutes. He's averaging more points, rebounds, assists, and everything for everybody. And me personally, I think they should put his big butt down there and let him post up from time to time, and then give Jamal Murray the space that he needs, because they play everything through him. But whenever he goes out of the game, who do they turn to? Because everything has been focused and centered through him. So I mean, a lot of people may disagree with me, because we do live in an era now where it's about what you do and not how you do it. Like, somebody can go out and lose and put up a triple-double and he'll be praised for it, versus the person who may not put up the greatest stats but did everything right to win. We don't praise those type of people. We praise people like the Joker. Like, I say, some people make some post and comment about the Joker having 50 points, and then not realizing, hey, they lost. They lost. Like, he putting up those type of numbers, and I see it. Stroll on the bottom line of ESPN. Joker had this, but they lost. And like, I think they gonna have to make a change in the way they play, because if he wants the ball, he want to be the point. Everything has to go through him. And like, I'm not saying don't go through the Joker. What I'm saying is every play can't go through the Joker. Every play can't. If every play goes through the Joker, then they're going to have these same issues come later on in the season and playoff time, because that's if they make the playoffs, because this recipe is not working. I mean, I've liked Denver more whenever everybody's involved, like everybody, and everybody's not involved right now because the Joker is doing everything. I mean, I watched it a few years ago, and I was saying to myself, like, why is this big guy bringing it up the court? And I get it. A lot of big guys want to be point. They can pass the ball, all that type of stuff. But when you got a guy, in my personal opinion, and I think he has to grow a little bit more, that he could be a star to make it in Jamal Murray, I think that you got to use that talent, because after a while, people don't realize this. They'll say, the Joker this and the Joker that, and Jamal Murray will jump ship and go somewhere else, because he'll get tired of playing that way. Because everybody else is an afterthought whenever it comes to the Joker. Yes, he finds people, he picks up, stats and stuff like that. But then, are they winning? That's the biggest question. Are they winning that way? I don't think that's a good recipe for the Denver Nuggets to win. Not with him handling the ball, taking, being the point, and being a 7-footer whenever you got people like Jamal Murray that can handle the ball. And a lot of times he's better with the ball in his hand versus him being like a guy like Steph Curry that doesn't have to have the ball in his hand, or being a guy like Kevin Durant who doesn't have to take a whole bunch of shots, but is so efficient he can still get his 25, 30 points in 13 or 14 shots. That's just the way I look at it. It's certain players that you can do certain things with. If the Joker was on one of those teams, then I would say that would be a recipe, because it would be kind of like Golden State using Draymond as their point forward. Draymond initiates everything and all that good stuff. Steph Curry doesn't have to have the ball. Where in this instance, I think Jamal Murray has to have the basketball to be effective and to be more effective. He's not one of those guys that run off screens, get open and then he looks for the Joker. The Joker needs to, I feel like their spacing is bad with him because everybody's around the perimeter. You don't have anybody that's going to go down on the block and anybody that's going to, just demand the ball or, the spacing is just bad whenever he has the ball to me. That's just me. I hate to watch it because it's not a good quality of basketball in my personal opinion. Some people may think it will, and it just remains to be seen. We will see what will happen whenever we get down to, All-Star break and then get down to the nitty-gritty whenever the season is on the line. We will see if this recipe will work, but I don't think it will. I think they will finish in the bottom tier of the West and possibly not make the playoffs because as of right now, like I said, they are sixth in the West. They're sixth in the West, and you got teams that's like Portland that's tied with them. Golden State, I feel like, is going to be better at 8. So those two could easily pass it, and they could be the 8th seed. And then Sacramento ain't nothing but a game and a half behind. You got Sacramento. You got Houston, who has been playing good basketball. So it's yet to be seen what's going to happen. But if they don't start playing a different brand of basketball and the Joker being praised about having all these big stats and big numbers and still losing, then they will not make the playoffs and end up being one of those 7th to 8th seeds and then getting bounced out in the first round, unless they play against the Clippers. The Clippers that might be in their head and they be like, they didn't come back from 3-1. They didn't come back. But right now, if they end up like in the 8th seed or something like that, they end up playing against somebody like Utah or the Lakers. And I don't see them beating either one of those two teams. I just don't see it. Not with the way they're playing. With the Joker, I would say, Joker, you go ahead and get all your stats. If Jamal Murray doesn't play well, if Jamal Murray and all the rest of the guys don't put in because you picking up, all the points, all that good stuff. So at the end of the day, until they stop that brand of basketball, and I haven't liked it since day one. I haven't liked it since the first time I watched them do it. I just haven't been a fan because his big butt need to get out the way. Let some of them guards have the ball. Now, if you want to do some pick and rolls and pick and pops with him, that's totally different. The ball is not completely in his hand majority of the time. But we'll see what happens. Mike Malone going to have to make some adjustments. And I feel like the adjustment is going to have to be get Jamal Murray more involved versus the Joker being the guy who's initiating and being the big stat guy. I just feel like he's one of those guys that goes out there and he hides behind stats and people praise him for that. And I feel like that hurts the Denver Nuggets because of that. I don't like it. I really don't like it. And I haven't liked it since day one, since the first time I saw him do it. And, it's okay if you got a big guy that can handle the ball. If, your guards being trapped and he can bring it up. But not trying to do all the initiating when he's truly, truly not the point guard. And if he was the point guard, then you had a big that I feel like that will work. But I feel like Denver needs to start using him more in the pick and roll situations because he can shoot the ball, pick and pops, let Jamal Murray make some decisions and all that good stuff. And I think it will open up the floor a whole lot more. And I think it will make them a better team. And then, like, whenever they miss shots, I mean, it's an off balance in the floor. The floor spacing is just terrible, and that's a big thing in basketball. It's a big thing, especially in professional basketball, with the floor spacing. The floor spacing is not great whenever the Joker is doing everything. Like I'm just telling you, I just feel like pick and pops, use him in some picks, send him away from the ball and set some picks. And I think they need to go back and watch some film of the Utah Jazz whenever Karl Malone and John Stockton and stuff were playing. And you could see a whole lot of ways that you could use the Joker a whole lot more versus him trying to be some point center, a point forward, whatever you want to call it. But I will say this right here is the end of my show, the end of my talking, because I can't talk. I'll talk forever and ever and ever and ever. But for those who tuned in, those who watched, I just want to say appreciate you, checking me out. Go on and like the page. If you don't like the page, I'll be back next Monday. We'll be here 7:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern. We'll have a bevy of other things to talk about. I'm going to get in a discussion of I'm about to watch the rest of the game. If I haven't missed it, I'll go back and watch it. The number 1 and number 2 women college basketball teams are playing against each other. South Carolina and UConn. I want to go check that game out because if you're not watching women's basketball, you're missing out on a lot. And then we will also discuss, and I can discuss it right now too. I'm happy that the women have finally been able to go through free agency like everybody else, like the men have. The women were kind of like basketball, the NBA basketball back in the 80s and early 90s, where whenever you were with a team, you stuck with that team because it was just, it was easy. They didn't have a whole lot of free agency. Now these women have free agency, and you just seen Candace Parker leave and go to Chicago. Now nobody ever thought that she would leave the Sparks in LA and go to Chicago. Yes, she's from that area, but who would have thought that she would have left and stayed and left and went to Chicago and not stayed in LA? So I think we need to start giving our women a whole lot more props because they do have a good quality and brand of basketball. I honestly like to watch women basketball more than I like to watch men's because the men's are more athletic and the athleticism hurt them sometimes. Where the women, they have to be fundamentally sound. If you want to see good shooting, if you want to learn how to be a good shooter, watch a female shoot. Because she's not as athletic as the man, so everything has to be fundamentally sound. It's just great to watch, some of these women teams, the UConns, the South Carolinas now, they've been powerhouses. Notre Dame was pretty good over the past few years. It's just good to see, the women's teams playing in, WNBA. I don't think they get enough props whenever it comes to, the brand of basketball they bring, because that's some good basketball. We have some great talent in the WNBA, and some of them have longevity. They played a long time, like, the Sue Birds, the Diana Taurasi's, and, Candace Parker, she got longevity. I mean, I think we need to start giving our women a little bit more props. A little bit more props on the quality of sports and the quality of play that they bring towards us. And I feel like if we support the women, sports a whole lot more. I see a lot of people complain about the women not getting paid, as much as the men. But everything is based on what you generate, money you generate. If we go and watch them more, if we go to the games more, if we watch them on TV more, the ratings will go up, and then they can start signing some of these nice TV deals. But we got to do our part and support them. We just can't say, oh, they should get paid more. Yes, they should, but they can't get paid if the money is not, is not coming in. So we want to get the money coming in. Let's watch them. Let's go to games. Let's buy their jerseys. Let's, do stuff to support the women. And we go from there. Like, I mean, we really have to support the women just like we support the men. And if you sit down and you watch some of their games, if you're really a sports lover, you will get a lot out of women's basketball, out of women's sports, because some of these women are just as good and as talented in their sense as the men. So just watch them. Like, it's just good basketball. They have to play together. They have to be fundamentally sound. Yeah, it's not as athletic, but you can get some good basketball. So let's start supporting our WNBA women and all the other women's sports so they can start getting paid more money. They can generate more money and, just support them. So I'd like to say, hey, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I see you next Monday.